Part two of If Insecure Women Plot and Scheme on Women Who Are Good to Them. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been counseling women and men who have experienced abuse as well as those who have been perpetrators of abuse. I have a question from a commenter who chose to elaborate. She says, I guess I don't know if I was the plotter or if I was made to feel like the plotter so that I would go the X degree to try and atone and show that I come in peace. Do good deeds or be extra helpful and explain a lot and be gracious with how I was being spoken to and stuff to show that I wasn't a plotter or a bad person. But I was really consumed in getting the person's approval, consumed in a way that felt unnatural. I was being told that I was the hunter. I was the one who was doing too much, and I need to improve on that. But never any explicit command to stay away. Always, you are not adhering to my boundaries of X, Y, and Z, and here's what's wrong with you. But grace and forgiveness are important, so let's just let it go. Followed by another mixed signal, or what to me felt like a breadcrumb or intermittent reinforcement. And during that time, I am stressing, I am helping and showing up and just doing a lot of labor to try to again atone. It kind of drove me nuts. The person did suddenly become hostile over anything. They gave snide comments and subtle digs as well. But I would be forthcoming about the attraction, affection I felt, almost to some extent clear the air on the icy parts of the dynamic in such a way that I thought was fair game. And I thought that I was doing the responsible thing by being honest. But I got hell for it. I'm just not sure if I just was in a situation where a version of me I didn't know was there, that just clicked on, and that I have to learn to manage it, or if I was seduced into something. I don't know if I thought I was a good person and someone who cares for others' boundaries, but now admittedly I'm confused and I feel a lot of shame and guilt, even though I thought I was doing the right thing a lot of the times. Thank you for writing this post. And I got to say, even just reading it, I got confused. And so normally when I'm feeling that way out of it, when I'm feeling confused, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person, but it just sort of strikes me as like, oh my gosh, there must have been a lot of stuff going on in that relationship. And to me, that sounds like it might have been a situation where there's a lot of gaslighting going on, and maybe not necessarily in a bad way, but sometimes you can get with people, and I'll try to clarify this, but sometimes you can get with people where it's a situation where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's nothing that you can do is ever good enough for me. And sometimes they tell you to go left, tell you to go right, and the goalpost is constantly moving, right? And so whenever you're a well-intentioned and well-meaning person and you just want to show your partner you love them, well, they just don't trust you. They feel paranoid. They feel like you have a hidden agenda, or maybe you've done something and now you're trying to come at me all nice because you secretly have done something. And so you can get kind of caught up in a world where people are just twisting and turning things around on you, and you never know, and you're trying to do the right thing. You're constantly explaining, you're constantly trying to give love and show affection to a person that, no offense or anything, a person may be damaged. And sometimes people can be so damaged, so distrustful, that they actually sabotage and they end up hurting a good person. And they're trying to put things off on you that's not quite there and that's not true. And this is why I always tell people, if you're rational and you know yourself, this is why it's so important to know yourself. But if you're rational, if you're logical, you cannot argue or win an argument or reason with someone that is completely irrational. You cannot do it. They're gonna turn things around. They're gonna twist and mangle and do anything that's completely unreasonable. Any thought process that's completely unreasonable, they're going to come up with it, and before you know it, they're going to just twist things around. And again, so you want to be careful with that. But it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, and I wasn't there, and I don't know you, but what it sounds like is you were a good intentioned person. You tried to show up. You tried to show this woman that you loved her and cared for her. But what happened was nothing was ever good enough. And sometimes we can get with people with good intentions, but they just don't trust anybody in a relationship, or they will do this push pull method where they push you away and then they pull you close, and you never know what you're going to get with them. Sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're cold, and sometimes you come home and they're hanging upside down from the ceiling with their neck turning 360 degrees, and you feel like they've been possessed because you don't know what the hell just went on, or why you just got into a fight over nothing. And it is because that person has their own wounds, their own stuff that they haven't dealt with. And you got to back up and you got to give that person space. You can be as good as you want to be with a person like that. But if they haven't dealt with their stuff and you can't help them do it, you cannot help them do it. You cannot do the work for them. Trust and know that many have tried. And I've gotten a bajillion calls to my office. Dr. Jones, how can I help so and so? How can I do it? You can't help them do it. They've got to do the work themselves. And so that's the thing, is like, you have to know what your worth is, and you have to say, you know what, I'm not going to put up with that. I'm not going to put up with you accusing me of doing things that I don't do. I'm not going to put up with you making me feel like I did something wrong when I know that I didn't, and I came to you well-intentioned and well-meaning. And sometimes you just have to be firm with that. And and I'll say this. I've said this before. If people, you're acting crazy right now, and I don't really know what's going on with you. So I'm going to give you your moment. I'm going to let you have your time. And then when you've come back down to earth, then we can have a conversation about it. But I'm not going to engage with you when you're doing this stuff. And there's some people that just really like to fight. And so if they got out of a bad relationship where they've been abused and mistreated, and here you are, a person that shows up, you bring flowers, you do all the right things, then they will bring the chaos. And it's because it's something that they're used to. It's a pattern. It's a behavior that's been sort of cemented in their life. And if they're not with someone who's chaotic, then they will bring the chaos. And there's nothing you can do to get them out of it. They have to see that they have a problem. They have to want to address that problem, as opposed to blaming you for everything, and making you feel bad all the time. That's not a relationship that you want to be in, nor is it one that you should be in. If you know that you're a good person, if you know that you're a good woman, then you need to be with a woman who's going to treat you well. And sometimes, women, we could bring the fight on, and I used to have a talk about this a lot with the ladies who were in jail, and they would get out and they would have these relationships. Even now, sometimes when I go to jail and I see people and I tell them, the first thing they want to do is they talk about how the women there get them caught up in stuff. And not saying that you're in jail, but this is a dynamic that's common in women also. And I always tell them, you need to focus on what you need to do, which is getting out and living your best life. And I'm going to advise you to do the same thing. Focus on you. Focus on being around, with women who pour into you as much as you pour into them. Walk away from any woman that's doing, or anybody really, that's doing this push-pull stuff, this toxic stuff, even if they're well-intentioned and well-meaning, and they have good aspects to them. It's not worth it, and there's nothing you can do to pull them out of it. I hope that helps. Thanks so much for writing that.